Hey there, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to have a brief chat about choosing your first sharpening stone. Now, wow, there's a lot of choice out there, and yep, 100% all of them work without fail. If you follow the system and you follow all the tips and tricks for that system, it's going to work. Um, but there's so much, I think it could be not necessarily super confusing, but there's a lot to wade through. Now, if we just rewind back a little bit, um, there was a bit more of a limited choice, and I don't think personally that was too much of a detriment. I think it made it easier for people who are maybe a bit newer to really pick out something that was effective. And my recommendation for maybe your first and only stone, it's one of my all-time favourites, is the Norton India combination stone. The most useful size, I think, is the 8 inches long by 2 inches wide. It's two-sided, it's got a coarse side and a fine side. And I think in many ways, it's not even worthwhile talking about grit, so I'll mention it quickly. But if you think coarse and fine, you can think, well, the orange side or the brown side, that's for the fine work. And the grey one, if I've got a few nicks to take out of an edge, that's the one I'm going to use. But that fine edge is going to get you everything you need for really sharp, crisp work. I'm going to show that in just a second. Yeah, can't high recommend it enough. Something like this is going to set you back maybe £25. I've got no affiliate links. I've got no business relationship with Norton Abrasives. Don't particularly want one either. The only reason I'm mentioning them specifically is because this stone has been made for a long time. No doubt it's varied over time, but it's reputable. And for about £25, you've got something that's going to outlast you. I don't know anybody that wears these out. It would probably outlast the next person. They just don't wear out. I found just a Norton Fine a little while ago. It's being used, but it's a brick. It's got years left in it. The other option I quite like is vintage ones. You can pick those out, but that's going to take a little tiny bit of work to get as I want it to be, whereas these are ready to go straight away. It's an oil stone, so some people are not keen on that. They think it's a bit mucky, but I always think that's slightly confusing because then you use, say, water stones or some other kind of thing to spritz a stone, and then that possibly creates rust. So you then introduce oil into your tools. So you should be wiping off and cleaning as you go. So it doesn't worry me too much. And these are portable. I don't need running water. It's all very straightforward. Now you can buy proprietary honing oils if you want. No problem with that. But you can just pick up cheap and cheerful mineral oil. But I just pick up baby oil from the supermarket because it's just cheap. You can get it in smaller bottles, bigger bottles. And I think you can get this stuff in volume if you want it. Entirely up to you. I've seen other people use things like 3-in-1, which I think is a bit too thick personally. WD-40, which is a bit thin, and they can be a bit stinky, and I don't think they may be quite so good for your skin. This stuff is supposed to be free from parabens, dyes, and phthalates. I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly, but it hasn't got that on there. And it's designed to be okay for babies, so I'm guessing it's okay for sharpening with. So just a bit of a maintenance routine. Just put a bit of oil on your stone. Got my plane iron. And again, my personal preference is to do freehand. Get it at 30 degrees. You might see my stone moves around a little bit, but it doesn't concern me too much. It's not fixed rigidly in its case. Because it's a combination stone, I can flip it over if I want to. This is for a smoothing plane, so what I do is I just work it up and down, and you just feel for a burr, which I've not done this one for a while, so it needs a little bit more work. And then what I do is I just gently rock it and just ease those corners just a touch. Hold it flat, work off the burr, and I like to just overlap the iron to the other side. Again, I try to use all the stone. Flip it over, just a couple of goes, back again, a couple of goes, and wipe it off, and we're done. when you're wiping away like this, so I'm not risking moving this way towards the cutting edge, always moving away. Just wipe the stone off and we're done. So it's not particularly a dirty process. Now for a really fine finish, just a block of wood. I've got some little finish nails which are just cut off in the bottom, some brads. It stops that moving around. And this has got some my favourite auto sol polish. Again, I don't get paid for this, you know, that's not going to happen. But it's a very fine polish. I don't have to go crazy with it. I don't know if this wood's particularly flat. I think it's flat enough, but it just finishes off the last remnants of a burr. And just pulling backwards a few times. You know, leather's a good option, but you really don't even have to go to the extent of having leather. You know, that polish has dried out a bit, but it's still doing its job. Get your cap iron set. I'll just get the plane set for you and take a few shavings so you can see what you can realistically expect. Okay. It's got a piece of oak there. Wanted to pick something a little bit challenging. Start advancing that iron. Hopefully you can see that those shavings are coming off just fine. No problems at all. Hopefully in that light you might have even seen how the timber almost changes colour when it gets that cut sheen on it. Where the fibres aren't abraded, they are literally cut, it becomes reflective. Not sure if I can catch that in the light. But that looks quite dull and lifeless. That's a bit more vibrant. And if you could reach out and touch that piece, it would be beautifully smooth. And you're ready to go straight to some finish. You can work straight from the tools with what I think must be about a 400 grit, something around that mark with an India stone. I think they'd probably finish off around 600 after they've been used for a while. I will also try it on a piece of pine end grain. A nice spongy piece of wood, end grain pine. And traditionally, a lot of people, not traditionally, that's the wrong word to use, a lot of people at the moment are saying, you know, you want to have a long, a bevel down plane for, or a bevel up plane for this kind of thing, something low angle, when as long as it's sharp, you're going to be just fine. That's taken out end grain shavings. You can see the pieces coming off there. They're like that. Again, it's smooth through there. It's not compressing all the fibres. So again, that works beautifully, and it doesn't matter whether you're choosing to use a hand plane or a chisel. It all does the same thing. So let's have a quick go with the chisel. Now this chisel might look a bit grim. I found this for a couple of pounds, but it's an absolute knockout. Sure, it's a bit dirty, but quality on it is absolutely incredible. Just the same thing, just a little tiny bit of oil. And a normal routine is just about 30 degrees. Again, I don't know, it could be 28, 32, it just becomes something that gets bedded in after a while. You just know where that angle is. Try and use all my stone. Flip it, back the back. Again, I don't know if this stone's perfectly flat. I'm not particularly interested in finding out. All I want it to do is remove the burr. To me, sharpening for woodworking is about raising a burr and removing a burr. Flatness of a chisel or a plane iron is... I don't understand what has to be flat about it. I get how joints have to be flat, so they feel smooth once you've made them. But, you know, that makes sense. But I don't know what you want to use a flat chisel. Why the face of a chisel here? This is the face, not the back. Well, you can call it the back and call it what you want, but I call that the face. Why that needs to be flat, I have no idea. Again, I could test that on the oak should I wish, but something like this, pine's going to be the one really. See now, I'm not trying to take off big chunks. I can just peel away end grain shavings. And what's important is what's coming away afterwards. The wood that I've cut is without defect. It's nice and bright. So if I get you down there, you can see this. That's all perfectly smooth. There's no crush marks in it. You know, it's not breaking off lots of nasty bits. It's doing its job just fine. So yeah, I can't recommend, if you're looking for your first sharpening stone or even a lifetime sharpening stone, the Norton India. I think it's fantastic. I think it's well recommended. It's done people good for a very long time. It's done perfect work, and I'm sure it'd be very useful for anybody who wants a good quality sharpening stone.